Okay, so today we are going to go through the summary of part 2 of siman Reish Nun, which we spent 23 sessions on, around a half an hour each session. This is going to be a summary, part 2, and today in particular we're going to be learning about the halachas of when and what to buy for Shabbos, the type of Shabbos food. Additionally, could you diet on Shabbos? We might get to, as well as many other applicable halachas. So we're going to go through now this Word document that I typed up, which is a summary of the 23 previous sessions that we have. When should one buy Shabbos food? This is what we ended with yesterday. Yesterday we did the part 1. So I will put that, it will pop up right over here. And if you want, you can watch it right over there and click on it afterwards. When should one buy Shabbos food? Magen Avraham rules that it is better to purchase Shabbos food on Friday than Thursday. All right. So Friday is a better time. The question is why? Why is it better to buy food for Shabbos on Erev Shabbos? All right. So we will see momentarily. Eliyahu Rabbah adds that even though it is a burden to purchase food Erev Shabbos, nevertheless one should do so. A lot of times it's very hectic and chaotic on Friday before Shabbos, especially when Shabbos starts early with the kids, etc. Nevertheless, this is in fact preferable. This is a better time to do it. The Mishnah Berurah explains that it will be more recognizable that one is purchasing the food for Shabbos when he purchases it Erev Shabbos as opposed to Thursday or earlier in the week. In other words, when the food is purchased on Friday itself, that will be more apparent, obvious, evident that it is being done in order of Shabbos, in honor of Shabbos, excuse me. What's this footnote 22? Wow, that is a long footnote. Okay, let's take a look at that footnote over there. Footnote 22. Seder Hayom, quoted by Oz V'Hadar Mishnah Berurah in Os Yud, explains that food preparations for Shabbos are unlike other non-food related Shabbos preparations, such as getting one's haircut, which can be done on Thursday. Yeah. So in other words, the haircut you could do earlier on Thursday. The reason why it is more halachically preferable to be involved with the actual food preparations of Shabbos itself is because it will be more recognizable that is being done in honor of Shabbos. Furthermore, the food will taste better if it is fresher. Conversely, if the Shabbos food is bought and cooked on Thursday, then it will be less recognizable that it is being done in honor of Shabbos, and it will not be as tasty and fresh. This idea practically manifests itself from a halachic perspective in the following manner. Someone who knows that he will have limited time on Erev Shabbos should perform all of the non-food related preparations of Shabbos before Erev Shabbos in order that he will have time to be involved with the food related preparations of Shabbos on Erev Shabbos itself. In other words, what this is saying is something that is incredibly relevant. The reason why food preparations should be if someone has limited time and they can't do food preparations and non-food related preparations on Erev Shabbos because they're limited time, they're working, whatever it is, get the haircut, cut your nails, do all of that earlier. Set the table, you could do all that earlier. If you're gonna have only a certain amount of limited time on Erev Shabbos, designate that for the food related preparations for Shabbos. Now, that's what this is saying over here, right? And also, the reason why the food-related preparation should be done actual on Friday, because it will taste better when the food is fresher. You don't have that with your haircut. You don't have that with your nails. Your hair is not going to look that much better if it's cut, right? There's an idea of being recognized.
We definitely talked about the idea of doing it Friday.
Yeah, preferable, yes, we did. It will be recognizable. It's being done in honor of Shabbos. But over here, in addition to the recognition factor, we have the taste factor with the food.
I would think that
yeah.
The last part for sure, the tasty and fresh, for sure that holds true.
Yeah.
But you're cooking for Shabbos. There's a difference in that meal that you're cooking on Thursday. It doesn't matter whether Thursday or Friday. The food that you're cooking is for Shabbos.
Yes, it is. It is. But if it's fresh, it will be tastier. All right. So that's this point.
But he had 2 points. It seems like it's 2 points, but the first point is
which other point? The recognizable?
Yeah, the recognizable. I think.
Yeah, they elaborate on that and say, if a person's cooking a lot before, people would think he's just cooking a dinner for Thursday night or something. Might not think, oh, it's for Shabbos. When you come in the house at midday on Erev Shabbos, you know that's Shabbos food that's being cooked.
I'm mashing on my wife, but
Look, if
there's no meals being cooked like that, like an elaborate Shabbos food.
Oh, okay, well, that's another discussion of itself, but you have to know also if someone who works on Friday, I grew up in a house where my mother worked 5 days a week and in a as a high paid employee, and when you get paid a lot, you have long hours. And I remember she'd come home a couple hours before Shabbos and she'd leave the house before like 7 o'clock.
Yes.
You can't cook.
She had no time.
LMI, Shabbos
Thursday
was cooked
night.
Thursday night.
Yeah.
So that's what this is talking about. But if someone such as our house, where my wife works rigorous schedule 3 days a week, but she's off every Erev Shabbos, the whole Erev Shabbos.
Baruch Hashem, she couldn't.
Yeah, so now the question becomes, if I come home Erev Shabbos around, let's say, 12 o'clock, eat a lunch, whatever, and then there's already 3 hours till Shabbos, and there's so much to get done, cleaning the house, bathing the kids, setting the table, the neiros, cutting, we're talking about now 50 nails, right? We gotta, with everyone involved, I'm only talking fingernails. If you're gonna include toenails, then you're gonna bump it up for the kids to 80, right? So all of that, believe it or not, takes time while trying to maintain a calm atmosphere and that everything is okay in the house. So now we already discussed, maybe we should already start some of the cooking maybe Thursday night, or start the table setting just to get a head start, so that we're able to get everything done. Because we know the seriousness about also the setting the table. I'm gonna put the link over there. What was that, siman 260? What was that? No, I'll put it up. I'll put it up. You'll see what I'm talking about is you could add things in the middle and then put it up there. So to click on the thing. So it's to start that siman, to learn about where we're coming from over here, right? We already learned together in depth. We had many sessions on this, the seriousness of setting the table before, and like the king's coming, etc. All of these halachas, all of this takes time, everything. So this is a very relevant point. Okay. Now, Mishnah Berurah relates that one should purchase the food immediately in the morning after he davens. Yeah. So in other words, davening comes first. All right. Now the Be'er Halacha explains that immediately means within the first 3 halachic hours of the day. So you purchase the food within the first 3 hours of the day, halachic hours. All right. So just to get that on the screen, get this manim over here. Okay. So now we have the my zmanim chart. This week's parsha, we're going to be learning Yisro, where we discuss the 10 Commandments. You should see the jealousy shear. How is it possible not to get jealous? 7 answers. Well prepared. Okay, so you have over here Sofsman Kriya Shema, which is 3 halachic hours into the day. So according to the Magen Avraham, it's 8:52. According to the Vilna Gaon, it's 9:28. Really 8:53 and 9:29. All right, just keep it simple. All right, 8:55 and 9:30. All right, that's the time. All right. So let's go back to what we were just dealing with over here. So you should purchase the food immediately in the morning after you daven. What does that mean? Within the first 3 hours of the day? Let's say before 9 o'clock. Right? All Shabbos food purchased, done. I think if I'm not mistaken, Bingo always opens very late. Every single day. They're on like Hasidic Zmanim.
What's the reason for that again? Why after the first 3 hours?
Yeah, we're gonna see in a minute. The Mun, it was learned that from the Mun, right? Look at this. Bingo every single day opens at 10 o'clock in the morning. Okay. On Erev Shabbos, they open at 8. They open earlier. It's still not so early. I wonder if this is right, because according to this, it says they're open on Shabbos. Oh no, after Shabbos. Okay, my fault. Yeah.
They are open Motzei Shabbos?
Yeah, that's what it says, 7 p.m. to 12. I didn't know that.
Check that out.
Yeah. Akoponim, you see every single day, the mamish open at 10 o'clock, including Sunday, every single day of the week. And then Erev Shabbos, they open 8 o'clock.
Until 12 a.m.?
Yeah.
Every day of the week? I mean,
No,
except Friday.
just Wednesday, Thursday, because before Shabbos. Wednesday and Thursday, they close later because they know people are buying stuff for Shabbos.
The other places are also closed.
Yeah. Yeah, well, now they're trying to keep up and everything like that.
10 o'clock.
Anyways. Oh, welcome. Okay, I just got a message right now. Welcome, D.Y. Weiss. Welcome aboard. Okay, shout out. What? What? I don't know. No, you just like subscribe to the channel. I don't know if he'll be watching this one in particular, but all
Okay.
right, you gotta give shout outs. That's it.
Oh, that's John.
Nope.
That's John.
Oh, that's your guy? Oh, okay. Welcome aboard. All right. There it is. We got stuff for everyone over here. Okay, now one should okay, so now what are we saying over here? We're saying over here like this. Should be purchased within the first 3 halachic hours of the day. Yeah? Now, Ishal Avram relates that something that requires a lot of preparation should be purchased Thursday. You know, this is an excellent point. Different foods require different preparations. If someone's going to buy, for example, in our house, we drink water during the week, finished. Nothing else is in the house. Now on Shabbos, maybe we'll spice it up. We'll get a Snapple. We'll get my kids take after me. They like the pink Snapple. The what's it called? The kiwi strawberry thing or whatever it's called. We'll get that. That doesn't require preparation. You just buy the thing. But something that does require a lot of preparation should be purchased Thursday. Something that doesn't require a lot of preparation should be purchased Friday. If it's too annoying, you're not gonna go taking hakafas back and forth and back to the supermarket. So rather, what you should do is you should just simply, get it all in one shot. But anyways, what to think about. Shlomo explains that the halacha buying food on Friday only applies to food that are tastier to eat if they are purchased in Erev Shabbos. However, food that tastes the same if they are purchased earlier should be purchased earlier because of Shizim Ekil mitzvahs, being quick to perform a mitzvah. Right? So, in other words, if someone's going to be buying like a type of Moroccan cigar, which is already frozen, and then just going to be popping that in the oven, so then there's nothing to talk about. You could buy that earlier in the week. So you got to know. But the idea over here is just your suda has to be souped up. It has to be better than during the week. And if you don't already do soup, start with the soup, especially in the winter, as we learned about a few sessions ago. Mishnah Berurah rules that when the days are shorter, for example, in the winter, one should buy the food Thursday, since there is less time to prepare for Shabbos, Erev Shabbos. Exactly. If you have if you don't have as much time to buy the food, so then you should buy it on Thursday. There's less time to prepare for Shabbos, on Erev Shabbos. All right? Now, Yabed says that it depends on the case. One has to assess himself, the situation, and his place/marketplace. If he sees that it's better to be involved with Shabbos preparations earlier, then he should be involved with them earlier, even from the beginning of the week. So you have to know your situation. That's what we're talking about over here. Piskei Teshuvos relates that it's logical to say that nowadays it's possible to cook and bake before Erev Shabbos and put the food in the refrigerator or freezer. They remain tasty this way. Therefore, one should cook the food before Erev Shabbos and apply this method if the other Shabbos preparations will be done Erev Shabbos better. However, the baking of the challah should be done on Erev Shabbos. All right, this is all the Piskei Teshuvos. And the point is that what you have to assess the situation, because a lot of food, even if it gets refrigerated, it's not as good after. If you make chicken a couple days in advance, your refrigerate a lot of times not as good. So you have to know how pressed for time are you, what's your exact situation, and this is talking about the pressing situation. That's what we're talking about over here. All right. The baking of the challahs should lichatchila preferably be done on Erev Shabbos. We're going to learn about challahs on Reish Mem Beis, and this idea of baking them versus buying them at a bakery, or nowadays the supermarkets, which essentially serve as like a mall for food. So they have bakeries now. I mean, it's crazy what what every single supermarket, what the standard became to have pies of pizza, to have sushi always, to have a bake section, cooked food always out. I mean, who would have thought? Shari Chuva quotes the Birchei Yosef, who says that if you want to purchase an item which is needed for Oneg Shabbos and it might not be available on Friday, then it's better to purchase it on Thursday than completely nullify this mitzvah. And this actually reminds me of you've got to know your market, like we just saw above. This is why it's a nice idea. We were talking about why is it a mitzvah to buy the food early? It's on from the man, which was done early, right? But also Zriza Makdim la mitzvah. You want to be quick to do a mitzvah, but also you're gonna run out of stuff. When we go to the bakery at 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning, pretty much any type of challah you want is available. You go to the bakery at 1 o'clock, it ain't there no more. Not happening. Mishra Zozav relates that even though one cannot take care of his own needs before he daven Shachris, nevertheless, he's allowed to be involved with needs for Shabbos before Shachris, since these are not considered one's personal needs, rather, they are considered needs for a mitzvah. So the chiddush over here is that we're not supposed to be involved with activities before davening. As we discussed, you got the recordings of Eblan.com, siman pay tests, Sif Gimel, 89.3 on the Mishnah Brura section. Nevertheless, this is Chofsi Shamayim. This is heavenly needs and therefore will be permissible. What about buying Shabbos food? What type of food should we buy for Shabbos? All right. Shulchan Aruch rules that one should increase, aka purchase a lot of meat, wine, and delicacies such as fruit and sweets. And delicacies he will have on Shabbos according to his ability, financial ability. Or Shulchan adds that someone who adds will be added from heaven as long as he has the intention to honor Shabbos. And this is an important point which we have elaborated on and we will elaborate on in this summary. Maybe tomorrow. Today's already Wednesday, but this is an important point that the Aruch HaShulchan is making. Buying too much and overeating on Shabbos is not a mitzvah. We're going to come back to this more. Overeating on Shabbos, yes, that's right. It's not a mitzvah. We're going to come back to that more. Oz V'Hadar Mishnah Brura explains that the main Oneg Shabbos comes from eating meat, wine, and delicacies. Mishnah Brura discusses that one doesn't need to consume meat, wine, and delicacies on Shabbos. Rather, every place should go according to his custom with his important foods. It's every person. Since most people enjoy eating meat, wine, and delicacies, Shulchan Aruch therefore specified these items. You have to go whatever you like. That's what you should be getting on Shabbos. Seder Hayom rules that right before one buys meat, he should purchase good flour to be used for challah, because the main part of the Shabbos suda is about good challah. In other words, someone who can only afford one item should purchase good flour first. Someone who can, it's an important point, the challah is the main part of the suda, staple item. Make sure you have good challah. No excuse, you got great bakeries over here. Someone who can only afford wine or meat should purchase wine, because kiddush on wine is more important than having meat. So kiddush will come before meat, as we learned in Hilchos Kiddush in Reish Ayin Aleph, Sif Gimel. Also, the Mishnah Brura explains that the Shulchan Aruch here says that he here says meat first because he's referring to extra wine that he would be having during the suda. In other words, meat should be purchased before one purchases extra wine during the meal for Oneg Shabbos. However, Seder Hayom explains that first one must make sure that he has oil and wicks to light Ner Shabbos with. In other words, we have a hierarchy. Make sure that first you have oil and wicks to light the Shabbos candle with. Then make sure you have wine for your suda. Then make sure that you have meat. And then extra wine to actually have during the suda, not just for kiddush.
What is challah for?
Challah is going to be before everything. Challah is all the way in the front, like we learned by Hilchos Chanukah, siman 679 on the Hilchos Chanukah playlist section. Nishma Shabbos relates that someone who purchases, you see how it all ties in and all builds. Nishma Shabbos relates that someone who purchases Shabbos food that is already cooked should at least cook or bake at least one item himself. That's an important point. Someone who's very busy and who's involved with work, kids, whatever it is, and doesn't have time to cook, whatever it is, make one item for Shabbos. Do something yourself. Chsam Soifer would only eat fish on Shabbos. Certain righteous people designate certain food items to only be eaten on Shabbos, in honor of Shabbos. Even so, there's no issue of eating leftovers from Shabbos during the week. On the contrary, some say that it's preferable to eat leftovers from Shabbos during the week because Shabbos leftovers are akin to remnants of the mincha. Mincha is stated by the Bnei Yissaschar. We just learned that a few days ago. Shabbos food can physically and spiritually heal us. One should not have a dairy meal on Shabbos. Shalshudas could be dairy as long as one has fish. One should eat fish, soup, and meat during his Shabbos meal, unless he doesn't like those items. The source for this is the Gemara in Brachos. The Gemara says that any meal that doesn't have soup isn't considered a meal. Chulent counts as soup. Sefer Pinchas says that having spaghetti in the soup has a Kabbalistic source. So the idea over here is that what? We don't hold like this, that any meal without soup isn't considered a meal, but nevertheless on Shabbos we try to fulfill this, and it's a strong custom to have soup. Right? If you don't like those items, you don't have to have it.
Summer it's too hot or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. I grew up in my house. I guess my mother had a strong Messiah. We had soup every single Shabbos night, even in the summer, chicken soup. She makes a great chicken soup, especially with the matzah balls. You put croutons in there and you put sincerely very geschmack. In the summer it's hot. I remember I used to sit right by, I grew up with central air. And the air, right where I would sit, it would come right onto me. I would sometimes put on a coat.
Because
I
it was
guess
so
that-
cold.
yeah. I remember one time I slept, my sister wasn't home, in her room,
It was so cold.
she had an extra bed in her room that wasn't used, and it was right by the vent for the air. I woke up the next morning, I had a huge cold. It was right by the vent, even under the blankets. When
Wow.
it goes on you. Yeah, central air is, it's powerful. It was new. They put it in the house. The house didn't come, surprisingly enough. Very large house, didn't have central air. It was built a long time ago. And
Maybe that's why you often take the cold, no coat. Right?
yeah, maybe. Yeah. No, it's not something outside for 15 seconds, now the heat warmer is so, when you put it on level 3, it has levels in the car. You could probably cook eggs in it. Mom is so warm. All right. Is there an obligation to eat meat on Shabbos? I can't wait till they make all cars standard to have the air conditioning. It's called ventilated seats. It comes through the seat. Because even if the air is on, if you're sitting in a car for a couple of hours, you get back, the ventilator is more ridiculous. Anyways, oh gosh, miss anyways, but is there an obligation to eat meat on Shabbos? Nishma Shabbos, that's Shal Shuvas Nishma Shabbos of Harfinus. He rules that there's no obligation to eat meat on Shabbos. Even so, it's based on a Shachi or Deya, Rabbi Yonah. Even so, if he enjoys meat, then he should eat it on Shabbos. The Shach, oh yeah, here's the Shach. And the Mogan Avram rule this way as well. All right. So Charles Chuvas, Beis David, says that we don't find that any sefer says that there's an obligation to eat meat on Shabbos. Charles Chuvas halachos kitanos. Okay, that should not be in parentheses. It's a mistake. Charles and Chuvas. Halachos kitanos. Put that in parentheses. Also rules that there's no obligation to eat meat on Shabbos. Shulchan Aruch Harav says that there's no obligation to eat meat on Shabbos. The only reason why the Shulchan Aruch said meat is because most of the time people prefer meat, in which case it should be eaten, but there wouldn't be an obligation to do so. That being said, does one need to eat chulent at the suda if he already had at the kiddush? Nishma Shabbos says that someone who already ate chulent at a kiddush in shul needs to eat chulent again at home during the suda. Is referring to he likes chulent. There's an idea of not just having nice food on Shabbos, but during the suda as well, the actual meal. Same applies to fish. Some say that one doesn't need to be as careful about eating fish during the lunch suda. Thus, someone who already had fish at a kiddush would not need to eat more fish during the suda during the day. There are Kabbalistic reasons to eat fish on Shabbos. All right, so let's continue. Is it permissible to eat fish after meat? Nishmat Shabbos rules that one may eat meat after he ate fish. The custom is to eat fish first, however. This even applies during the week. Interestingly, there's no source for this in the poskim. He then offers different explanations why the custom is to eat fish before meat. The last reason he provides is based on what the Rambam says. Rambam relates that one should first eat something that easily digests before something that takes longer to digest. Kaf HaChaim relates that one should eat fish before meat. Rav Harfenis rules that eating fish before meat is only lechachila, preferably. However, b'diavad, after the fact, someone who ate meat first can eat fish afterwards. Let's continue a little bit more. Is it permissible to overeat on Shabbos? Nishma Shabbos. This is a Shiloh and Chuvas Nishma Shabbos and Siman Koflam and Gimel rules that one needs. This is actually okay. Fine. Rules that one needs to have the right intentions when he eats on Shabbos. Chazal say Kol Ma'ane gets a Shabbos. This means that one must honor Shabbos, not himself. This is open rebuke to those people who overload their stomachs with Shabbos food and then take very long naps because they're so tired from overeating. This causes bittul Torah. They could be learning and now they get too sleepy and tired and they don't learn. One should foresee the repercussions of his actions and make sure that he doesn't eat too much so that he won't fall asleep and not learn Torah. Ksav Sofer rules that someone who overeats on Shabbos just to stuff his stomach and doesn't intend to honor Shabbos doesn't fulfill his obligation of the mitzvah of Oneg Shabbos. Wow. He doesn't fulfill his obligation of Oneg Shabbos. You hear that? If you overeat. This is the son of the Chassam Sofer. Aruch HaShulchan also relates that one has to have the correct intentions. I want to give a shout out to Rabbi Heft, who came along and said that you have to let people know that the kiddush nowadays are out of hand with all the 5 carving stations, 8 types of chulent. I mean, it's sushi, the 50 different types. It's crazy. How are you going to have a suda after? You have to have challah that suda, and it's not an appropriate suda, as we discussed in the past. It's a kiddush.
Recordings on the kiddush.
To that, exactly. So, this is definitely something to think about, and it's got to be for the right reasons. Let's just end with this. Is it permissible to diet on Shabbos? Or Letzion rules that one is not allowed to refrain from eating because he's worried about his weight. This is considered nullifying Oneg Shabbos. However, someone who gets damaged by eating is allowed to refrain from eating a lot on Shabbos. Similarly, someone who's a vegetarian or a vegan is allowed to continue being a vegetarian or a vegan on Shabbos and isn't obligated to eat meat. So why are you dieting? Are you dieting because you just want to lose a few pounds? In which case, you got to be careful that it doesn't negatively affect your enjoyment of Shabbos. Or are you dieting because you could get very sick if you don't eat properly, or because you're vegan and vegetarian, in which case would definitely be permissible. We discussed you could probably diet if you want to diet. Just make sure that you still have an enjoyment and you still eat the food that you like, just in moderation. Okay, so Amir Hashem, tomorrow we will continue.
By the way, yesterday I was going with my